Welcome back to On The Quayside, our newest segment where we will continue to engage with inspiring maritime citizens from across the continent. During August, we are dedicating the space to the amazing women in the maritime industry, and today we are joined by Yvette de Klerk, who is serving out her quarantine period in a hotel in Hong Kong before taking up a new position as head of training for Wallem Ship Management. Yvette has had an interesting and varied career path in the maritime training sector, including managing the South African cadetship program for SAIMI, and she has just finished a stint at the World Maritime University in Sweden, where she completed an MSc in Maritime Education and Training, and was awarded the Colmer Global Prize in recognition of her leadership at the university. She is a member of a number of professional maritime organizations and serves as a board member of the General Boerter Old Boys Association Bursary Fund. Yvette has attended IMO HTW subcommittee meetings and has represented South Africa at international maritime events. She has also worked with a number of maritime companies, both locally within Africa and abroad, on training, regulatory, and new business opportunities. She can arguably be called one of South Africa's quality exports, and I'm thrilled to have her join me on the Quayside. Hi, I'm Colleen Jacka, editor of Maritime Review Africa. Welcome, Yvette.
Hello, thanks for having me in my quarantine hotel in Hong Kong.
Yvette, you've had an amazing grounding in the maritime industry, and it's interesting to note that you, like many people, and most notably women, seem to end up in the industry almost by accident. You actually started off as a personal trainer, so how did you end up at sea?
Well, correct. Yes, I studied initially after school sports psychology. So I've got a sports psychology degree and a personal training diploma. So sporting, very far from maritime. When at the time I worked as a personal trainer on board a cruise ship. And at that time I actually had a fixed wing private pilot license. So my big plan was to work on a cruise ship as a personal trainer, make lots of money to keep up the flying hours. Sort of none of that actually... None of that happened or worked out as planned. But anyway, here I am. So what the real link to the maritime in this career, not as a personal trainer on board a cruise ship, was when I made friends with the officers and the engineers, getting to understand the maritime industry a bit better, and then thinking, well, nautical science, aeronautical science, there's a lot of commonalities. And that's when I decided, okay, I want to go study... at that stage, it was nautical sciences. Funny enough, at the time, CPUT, or DUT as well, would not accept me. I was much older as a new entrant cadet. I was a female. Obviously, you know how difficult it is to place females. So I actually started my studies in Australia at the Australian Maritime College in Tasmania. Long story short is I don't have a certificate of competency. I have completed the rest of my studies at CPUT up until what they call the S4, which is your ship master, ship captain theoretical component. But like I said, for a different longer story is I don't have a certificate of competency.
So you got your head out the clouds and came down to sea.
It's sort of like that, yeah. Luckily, I didn't drown. And then I started when I realized I wasn't going to go back to sea to complete the cadetship. At that stage, I was about 30. And again, for a different story on another day, I can tell you why I didn't go back to sea. Then I started working at Marine Cruise Services, where I think most people probably, that was my real introduction to the industry. But what a lot of people don't know is similarly, like not being accepted the first time at CPUT, I also didn't get the job the first time at Marine Cruise Services. I got a call back after 3 months and they said the person they did appoint sort of resigned and now there's a job shadow opportunity if I was interested. And I said, job shadow, I don't know. But when I got there and I saw the opportunity, I just grabbed it. And then that's sort of, the rest was history.
So you were Plan B.
I was plan B.
Oh no.
I was plan B. Yeah, but anyway, here I am. So plan B.
So Plan B obviously worked out for you, and you ended up doing a lot in the world of training and managing the local maritime cadetship here in South Africa.
Correct,
How,
correct.
how has your international exposure helped broaden your understanding of maybe some solutions that could be applied to the challenges we face locally in cadet placement?
Oh, that's a that's a very difficult question. I think if it was that easy to solve, we probably wouldn't be in the situation in South Africa where we are. So I will use that as my little disclaimer to start off with. Um, the one thing that I can say is while I was the National Cadet Program Manager, and especially with the focus on Operation Pakisa and the big desire and the big targets on 720 officers and 1,200 ratings, it made sense to, okay, let's try and push them out as quickly as we can in the terms of meeting the STCW Office of the Watch requirements. Since my time, especially internationally and at the World Maritime University, it is so clear that there's much more focus internationally on other requirements, far beyond just the minimum STCW requirements. And I think therein is one of the biggest challenges that South Africa is facing. If you look at the requirements, for instance, a bachelor degree as a minimum with technology, and there's so much more artificial intelligence, robotics, all these types of things in international curriculums that's already being sort of included in the maritime curriculums. For instance, we had a field study, part of my studies to the Philippines. They're already doing it. So we are competing internationally. We really need to be at that level when it comes to our seafarer training. But like I said, we've got our own challenges in South Africa socioeconomically. I mean, schools battling with the basics. So these things seem to be a big luxury. But we're going to have to look at something to make sure that our output is on that international level of what ship owners internationally are looking for.
Especially as we're competing against the likes of the Philippines in that market.
Exactly, that it is a big challenge. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer, magic wand to look at my COVID stay safe angle. But anyway, well, yes. So I don't have a magic wand, but at least we know that there is a big gap, and we know what the gap is. It is really working collectively to try and fill that gap.
Okay. And your experience at the World Maritime University, that must have been quite fascinating. What exactly did you achieve there, and how did that help your next phase of your career?
Well, I mean, obviously that was an amazing opportunity. Initially, it sort of reminded me of being back working on a cruise ship with all these different nationalities. So yeah, we in my batch, we were, I think, 57 different nationalities.
Oh.
And we were, I think it was 130 master's students. So yes, I was within my specialization. There's 7 different specializations. So within the MET, I was the class representative. Then also there's what they call the World Maritime University Women Association. So I was a member for our class on the sort of board of the Women Association. And being the class representative, also you're on the student council. So I was very much involved in all the student activities. And I think that really helped I'm going to say from a point of networking, working with the different cultures, working with the university, the faculty, the staff members. We really sort of, and that's where the Kalma Prize that you mentioned, that's where that came in. I didn't even know, none of us knew that there are these prizes. But apparently it is basically awarded where the staff, the faculty of the university, they do the nominations and they vote. So nothing that it's basically, we didn't even know it existed. So that was quite a surprise for me. And in terms of my dissertation, I got a very big surprise when I actually got awarded the IMO Secretary General Prize for the Best Master of Science dissertation for
Wow.
the class of 2019. And that helped me to then actually get a short-term contract with the university. So I was working on a 1-year research project, which we've concluded. It's in the final stages of revision, and that would hopefully be published by October this year. Then you can
And
read up.
what was
Yeah.
that on?
The project itself was actually funded by the ITF Seafarers Trust. They funded the project, like I said, a 1-year project, and it was looking at the regulatory framework of work hours and rest hours and the implementation thereof on board ships. So officers, ratings, they're all supposed to, on a daily basis, record how many hours they're working, how many hours they're resting in terms of STCW, MLC. So we were looking, it was a really, I can't say too much because obviously the report's not out yet, but please read it when it is out. It is fascinating.
And obviously that's particularly relevant during these times as seafarers are stuck on ships, well, during COVID.
More so than ever. I mean, this research project already started in June or July last year. So I only joined after submitting the final dissertation. So I joined on the 1st of October. So, I mean, at that stage, nobody knew of COVID. It was pre-COVID, but it is so relevant. COVID really just brings the problems on another level, like anything in all the industries.
And your dissertation, a quick outline of what that was on?
Oh, okay. That was looking at autonomous shipping. In terms of, let's assume autonomous ships are going to be there. So I created 4 scenarios, different scenarios based on time. So whether it's immediately now, 2020, 2025, 2035, 2040, different scenarios, whether it's fully autonomous vessels, semi-autonomous, remotely operated. And out of the 4, I picked one scenario for 2035 to say, okay, let's assume in 2035 there's going to be this particular scenario. Are countries ready for it? So I was looking at 4 different countries: South Africa, the Philippines, obviously South Africa, my country, the Philippines as a big labor supplying country, Singapore and Norway as really world-class maritime economies, putting a lot of effort and research, R&D into autonomous shipping. And then on a country readiness in terms of policy, human resource development and infrastructure, to see how ready countries would be for this said scenario if that were to play out.
That sounds really fascinating. I hope you will send me a copy so that I can put it up for people to read.
Oh, I will. Definitely, I'll share. We actually also, we're looking at publishing a paper, academic paper on that. It's under review at the moment. So if that happens, that would be awesome as well. But in the meantime, I'll send you a copy of the dissertation.
Awesome. What sort of advice would you give South Africans who are looking similarly to you to establish a career outside of South Africa's borders in the maritime industry?
I could only say what I've done, which seems to have worked.
Clearly.
Honestly, it is networking. And I think my favorite dog is a Rottweiler. And I think maybe my personality, hopefully not. But I think that tenacity or not let go. If one door closes, you just keep knocking for the next door to open. And whatever opportunity you get, you just grab and run with it. Because a lot of times you are only going to get that one chance. So you can't mess it up. So that would be my 2 things. Network and don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Yes, good one. And I'm not saying that you're old, but obviously age shouldn't be a factor. I mean, you only got into sort of the maritime space towards your late 20s. So there's always time for us to achieve.
Exactly. I got into the industry. I mean, I joined the first cruise ship in 2008 as a personal trainer.
Wow. So that's just 12 years ago, and you've achieved significant. Wow.
It's that never give up Rottweiler tenacity.
Excellent. Well, I hope your bark is better than your, or not as, what is the, whatever.
We know what you mean.
Yeah. So, speaking of achievements, here's a quick question, and I'm wrapping up with this question. So, if you had one maritime goal to achieve this year, what would it be?
You mentioned earlier that I'm one of the board members. Board members for the General Botha Alt Boys Association Bursary Fund. And while I was the National Cadet Program Manager, I implemented a lot where we're trying to support the General Botha Alt Boys, Sea Cadets, a lot of these non-profit organizations, because I believe we need to start with the youth in getting them excited in terms of a career in maritime. So in terms of a goal, I mean, we all know the impact of COVID and the economic impact of COVID. So I can only imagine funding that may have been available in the past would probably not be really available, or for that amount that would not be available in future. So I think my big goal would be to try and find additional support or financial support for those types of organizations, because like I said, I really believe that is where we really need to put effort in. So I would hate to see that sort of something great started and because of a global pandemic cannot continue. So I think that would be my how to do it. I don't know.
Well, that's a worthwhile goal, definitely, and good luck with that, and certainly good luck with your new position with Wallem, and good luck in getting your freedom outside of your quarantine. I believe that's this weekend. You finally get to step out of the hotel room.
Hopefully this weekend it would be fantastic to actually feel the heat. Not just see the heat. Coming from Sweden, I really need good weather.
Indeed. Well, speaking from a cold Cape Town, enjoy your weekend, and thank you for joining us on the Quayside. We look forward to more conversations going forward and news from Hong Kong.
Fantastic, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And love and hello to everyone in South Africa.